In a time when magic still whispered through the world, there existed a city called Lumina, built entirely of glass. Not ordinary glass, mind you, but living glass. Glass that could hold memories. Glass that could sing. Glass that could show you the deepest truths of your own heart. And in this city of crystalline wonders, there lived a glassblower named Isadora, the most gifted artisan the world had ever known. Her works were not merely beautiful, they were transformative. A mirror she crafted could show you not your face, but your soul. A goblet from her workshop would make any wine taste of your fondest memory. A window she shaped would reveal not the street beyond, but the future you were destined to walk toward. Kings and queens traveled across oceans to commission her work. Scholars studied her techniques. Children pressed their noses against her workshop window, watching the dance of fire and glass, hoping to glimpse magic in the making. But Isadora kept her greatest secrets to herself. For 30 years, she worked alone, trusting no one with the ancient knowledge that had been passed down to her. Until one autumn evening, when everything changed. The young man who knocked on Isadora's door that evening was called Lucian. He was handsome in the way that storms are handsome, all dark eyes and sharp angles, with an intensity that could be mistaken for passion. He wore the clothes of a wanderer, dusty from the road, but his hands were clean, suspiciously clean for someone who claimed to have been traveling for months.
Master Isadora,
He said, bowing low when she opened the door.
I have come from across the shadowed mountains to beg for your teaching. I have studied glasswork since I was a child, but I know I have much to learn. Take me as your apprentice, and I will serve you faithfully for 7 years.
Isadora studied him with eyes that had seen through countless deceptions. She was 60 years old, her hair silver as frost, her hands marked with tiny scars from decades of working with fire and glass. She was tired, so very tired.
Why should I take an apprentice now? After all these years alone?
She asked. Lucian met her gaze without flinching.
Because even the greatest flame cannot burn forever without someone to tend it. Your knowledge is too precious to die with you. Let me be the vessel that carries your legacy forward.
It was the right answer. Or perhaps it was simply that Isadora, for the first time in her long life, felt the weight of her own mortality. She was aging, her hands were beginning to tremble, and the thought of all her knowledge vanishing like smoke when she died, it was unbearable.
Very well,
She said,
7 years. But know this, glass blowing is not merely a craft. It is a sacred trust. The glass remembers everything. It holds the intentions of its maker. Create with a pure heart, and your work will heal. Create with darkness in your soul, and your work will poison. Do you understand?
I understand.
Lucian said, though I must tell you now that he did not. Not truly. And so Lucian's apprenticeship began. For the first year, Isadora taught him the basics. How to gather molten glass on the blowpipe, how to shape it with breath and tools, how to control the fire that was both creator and destroyer. Lucian was a quick study. Too quick, perhaps. He absorbed techniques in weeks that should have taken months.
You have talent.
Isadora admitted one evening as they closed the workshop.
More than anyone I've taught before.
She had taught others, of course. 3 apprentices over the years, each staying for a time before leaving to open their own workshops. But none had stayed the full 7 years. None had been deemed worthy of learning the deepest secrets. Lucian smiled, and there was something hungry in that smile.
I live only to learn from you, Master.
In the 2nd year, Isadora began to teach him the true art, how to weave intention into glass, how to capture light not as it was, but as it could be. She showed him how to listen to the glass, for glass had its own wisdom. She taught him the old songs, the ones passed down through generations of master glassblowers. songs that made the molten glass dance and swirl with colors that had no names. Lucian practiced these techniques obsessively. Often, Isadora would wake in the middle of the night and see light coming from under the workshop door. She would find Lucian there, working by lamplight, his face illuminated by the glow of the furnace, his expression one of fierce concentration.
You'll exhaust yourself,
She warned.
I want to be worthy of your teaching.
He replied, and Isadora, who had spent so many years alone, felt her heart soften. Perhaps she had been wrong to keep herself so isolated. Perhaps this young man, with his dedication and his talent, was exactly what she had been waiting for. Perhaps he would be the son she never had, the legacy that would carry her name forward into the future. How wrong she was. By the third year, Lucian had become indispensable. He managed the workshop, dealt with customers, and created pieces that were nearly as beautiful as Isadora's own. Nearly, but not quite. There was always something missing from his work. A warmth, a depth, a quality that couldn't be named but could be felt. The glass he shaped was technically perfect, but it was cold. Lucian asked Isadora one evening, frustrated, holding up one of his creations next to hers.
Why does yours sing and mine merely speak?
Isadora looked at both pieces, a pair of vases, identical in shape and size. But her vase seemed to glow from within, while his merely reflected the light around it.
because you are still holding something back.
She said gently.
Glass requires complete honesty. You must pour not just your skill into it, but your truth. Your whole truth.
I hide nothing from you, Master.
Lucian said, but that was his first conscious lie. In the 4th year of his apprenticeship, Isadora finally deemed Lucian ready to learn the greatest secret of all, the creation of soul glass. She brought him to a locked room at the back of the workshop, a place he had never been allowed to enter. Inside, the walls were lined with shelves, and on those shelves were hundreds of glass objects, each one glowing softly with its own inner light.
This is the archive of souls.
Isadora said, her voice hushed with reverence.
Each piece here contains a fragment of a person's essence. Not stolen, you understand. Given freely. When someone is dying, or when they want to preserve something precious about themselves, I create a soul glass for them. It allows them to leave behind not just a memory, but a living piece of who they were.
She picked up a small glass bird, no bigger than her palm. It glowed with a warm amber light.
This was created for a mother who was dying of fever. She knew she would never see her daughter grow up, so she asked me to capture her love, all of it, and place it in this glass. For 20 years, that daughter came to this room once a month to hold this bird and feel her mother's love as fresh as the day it was made.
Lucian stared at the shelves, and something flickered in his eyes. Something that might have been wonder, or might have been something else entirely.
The secret is in the breath.
Isadora continued.
Not the physical breath that shapes the glass, but the breath of the soul itself. You must learn to breathe out not air, but essence. It requires complete vulnerability, complete trust. You must open yourself entirely and let the glass take what it needs.
Teach me.
Lucian said, and his voice was barely a whisper. For 6 months, Isadora tried to teach him the technique. But every piece Lucian created was empty. Beautiful, yes. Technically perfect, certainly. But empty. The soul glass requires something that Lucian could not, or would not give. It was late one night, after another failed attempt, that Lucian's frustration finally boiled over.
Why can you do it and I cannot?
He demanded, his voice sharp with anger.
I have followed every instruction, practiced every technique. What am I missing?
Isadora looked at him with sad, knowing eyes.
You are still holding back, Lucian. There is something in your heart that you will not release. And until you do, the glass will remain empty.
I am holding back nothing!
He shouted.
Then perhaps you are holding back from yourself.
Isadora said quietly.
Perhaps there is a truth you have not even admitted to your own heart.
Lucian stared at her for a long moment, and then he turned and left the workshop without another word. What Isadora did not know was that Lucian had not come to her workshop seeking knowledge for knowledge's sake. He had been sent. In the kingdom to the south, there ruled a king named Mordain, a man whose hunger for power was matched only by his fear of death. He had heard tales of Isadora's soul glass, and he wanted it, not to preserve love or beauty, but to cheat death itself. He believed that if he could capture his soul in glass, he could transfer it to a younger body when his own grew old. He could live forever. But Isadora had refused his emissaries, turned away his gold, ignored his threats. So King Mordain had sent Lucian, a young man raised in the king's court, trained in deception, taught to be whatever someone needed him to be, with a simple mission: learn the secret of soul glass, then bring it back to the king. The price for success was a fortune. The price for failure was death. Lucian had not wanted to care for Isadora. He had planned to remain distant, to see her merely as a means to an end. But over the years, something unexpected had happened. He had come to respect her, perhaps even to love her, in his way. And that made what he was about to do so much worse. It was the night before Lucian's 7th year was to end that he made his decision. He waited until Isadora had retired to her quarters above the workshop. Then, moving silently, he returned to the workshop floor. He knew he could not create soul glass himself. He had proven that again and again. But Isadora kept detailed journals, written in an ancient cipher that she thought no one else could read. She had not known that King Mordain's spies had broken that cipher years ago, had not known that Lucian had been reading her journals for months, slowly piecing together the knowledge she had withheld. But journals were not enough. King Mordain needed proof. He needed an example of the technique, something Lucian could bring back and demonstrate. Lucian's eyes fell on the Archive of Souls, and specifically on one piece, Isadora's masterwork, the piece she had created 20 years ago when her own mother had died. It was a glass rose, perfect in every detail, glowing with a deep crimson light.
Just this one piece.
Lucian whispered to himself.
Just this one, and then I'll be done. I'll fulfill my obligation to the king, and then I'll come back. I'll explain, she'll understand, she'll forgive me.
But even as he told himself these lies, he knew they were lies. He took the rose, he took Isadora's journals, and he took something else, a small glass orb that Isadora wore around her neck on a chain, an orb that she had said contained her own life's work, the culmination of everything she had learned. And then Lucian walked out of the workshop and into the night, leaving behind the woman who had trusted him, taught him, cared for him. Isadora discovered the theft at dawn. She stood in the Archive of Souls, staring at the empty space where her mother's rose had been, and she wept. Not because of the theft itself, objects, after all, are only objects. She wept because she had been right about the glass. The glass never lied. Lucian's work had always been cold, because his heart had always been cold. And she, in her loneliness and her vanity, had not wanted to see it. But here is where our story takes an unexpected turn. For Isadora was not merely a master glassblower. She was also wise in ways that Lucian had never understood. The orb that Lucian had stolen, the one Isadora wore around her neck, was indeed her life's work, but not in the way he had thought. Lucian rode for 3 days and 3 nights to reach King Mordane's castle. He was celebrated as a hero, given the fortune he had been promised, and asked to demonstrate the technique immediately.
First, I will show you the masterwork of Isadora herself, so you may understand the quality of what we seek to replicate.
He unwrapped the glass rose and held it up to the light. It glowed red, deep and warm, pulsing like a heartbeat. The court gasped in wonder. Then Lucian reached for the orb, intending to demonstrate the secrets contained within it. But the moment his fingers touched its surface, something changed. The orb began to glow, not with warm light, but with a harsh, revealing brightness. And in that light, Lucian saw himself, not as he wished to be seen, but as he truly was. He saw the lies he had told, the trust he had broken. He saw Isadora's face on the morning she discovered his betrayal. He saw, with perfect clarity, every moment he had chosen deception over truth, greed over loyalty, ambition over love. And more than that, he saw the consequences of those choices, rippling forward through time. The rose in his hand, separated from its creator, was beginning to fade. The love it contained was dying, like a flower without water. And in Lumina, Isadora, her life's work stolen, her trust shattered, was closing her workshop forever. And the art of soul glass was vanishing from the world. All because of him.
What is this?
King Mordane demanded.
What trick is this?
But Lucian could not answer. He could only stare at his own reflection, fractured into 1,000 pieces, each one showing him a different aspect of his betrayal. And then Isadora herself walked into the hall.
No trick, Your Majesty, only truth,
She said calmly.
The orb I created was designed to reveal truth, not the comfortable truths we tell ourselves, but the harsh truths we hide from. I made it years ago, and I've worn it every day since, as a reminder to examine my own heart.
She looked at Lucian, still kneeling on the floor.
I knew someone would betray me eventually. Glass remembers, and glass warns. Your work was always cold, Lucian, because your intentions were always cold. I gave you chance after chance to choose differently, to tell me the truth. But you never did.
Lucian looked up at her, his face wet with tears.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Are you? Are you sorry for what you did, or sorry that you were caught?
Isadora asked. Lucian opened his mouth to answer, then closed it, because he realized he didn't know. Isadora retrieved her mother's rose from where it lay on the floor. It was dimmer now, but not dark. Not yet. She wrapped it carefully and turned to leave.
Wait! The secret of soul glass. I will pay any price. Name it.
Isadora looked at him with something like pity.
There is no secret to sell, Your Majesty. Soul glass requires a soul, and a soul cannot be taught or bought. It can only be lived. Lucian could never create it, because he had never opened his heart enough to understand what it means to be truly vulnerable, truly honest.
She walked toward the door, then paused.
Lucian, I am not going to punish you. Life will do that far better than I ever could. Every time you work with glass now, you will remember this moment. Every creation will remind you of what you destroyed. That is a harsher punishment than any I could devise.
And she left, returning to Lumina, where she eventually took another apprentice, one who came with nothing but honesty and was given everything in return. As for Lucian, he tried to continue as a glassblower, but Isadora had been right. Every piece he created reminded him of his betrayal. The glass, which never forgets and never lies, held his shame like a stain that could not be washed away. Eventually, he gave it up entirely and spent the rest of his life in obscurity, working as a simple laborer. His talent wasted, his promise unfulfilled. Betrayal is not a single moment of violence, but a slow poison that corrupts everything it touches. Lucian told himself he could use Isadora, could take what he needed, and then make it right somehow. But betrayal doesn't work that way. Each small deception prepared the ground for larger ones. Each lie made the next lie easier. The glass never forgot, because truth never forgets. And in the end, the person Lucian betrayed most deeply was not Isadora, but himself, for he destroyed his own potential, his own integrity, his own chance at creating something beautiful and true. We all face moments when we must choose between the easy path and the honest one, between what we want and what is right. The temptation to betray, to take what is not ours, to break trust for personal gain, is always there, whispering that the ends justify the means. But as Isadora knew, and as Lucian learned too late, what we create reflects who we are. And if we build our lives on betrayal, we build them on sand that will eventually wash away, leaving nothing behind but regret. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this.